Hello, BookShark Bootcamp. It's your community manager, Jana, and today is this is session 8. We are going to be balancing. Speaking of balancing, let me get this music off. We're going to be balancing at homework, socialization, and outings. So to get right into it, we're a little bit later today because my youngest just got her driver's license, and here in our state, we had to make an appointment, and this was the only appointment we could get was an hour and 20 minutes away. So it's been an interesting day, but that is what we do as homeschoolers. We pivot and we have the flexibility, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And that's why I'm coming on today to encourage you with this idea of striking a balance. I've said in other sessions that balance is an illusion, and I still agree with that. So I feel like finding a balance is more about finding what works for you and knowing that there are certain things that need to get done and there are things that can be left undone. And you as the homeschool parent, are the one that gets to choose which of those things go where. Now, we talked about in the past using our calendar. I hope that you had a chance to print that out or at least look at it, get a good idea of what the next 12 months are going to look like. The calendar that I created actually goes from Monday to Sunday, and that is on purpose. I'm pretty sure I did it that way. I usually do it that way, and that is because your school week typically starts on Monday, and maybe it doesn't for you. However, you want to look at it, you definitely can make your own calendar. The point is to visually be able to see what you're going to do with the next 36 weeks of your homeschool. BookShark provides 36 weeks, 4 days a week. So that calendar we create is for you to be able to start penciling in and scheduling out your whole year so that you can get a really good idea of what your journey is going to look like. Again, doing it in pencil because things never go according to plan, but having an idea. I like to think of it as a roadmap. So to begin this elusive balance, your hands the biggest, I think, helpful point to have a vision, to cast a vision for your entire year and really pencil it out and get an idea of what's going to look like. In your day to day, we talked about the 20-10 rule, which can be the 30-40 rule, which can be the 45-15 rule, however, it's going to work in your home. But making sure that you schedule in routine breaks as you're working through your day so that it doesn't feel mundane. So your kids do know when you're going to take a break. They can push through some of those things that are a little bit harder, knowing that an end is coming, they are going to get a break. Make sure you go back and watch that session if you haven't already to really get an understanding of what the 20-10 rule is and how to implement into your home. And then last week, talking about self-care, the reset method, how to reset not only for yourself, because I guarantee as a parent, you're going to need it, but also for your kids. Modeling the reset for them is demonstrating as you put it into practice for yourself, and then helping them be able to put in practice for themselves as they start to escalate in moments of frustration, that we can just do a reset, walk away, count it down, come back and start again. That will bring some peace to your homeschool as you start on the street. Now, again, it's not a total balance, but if we were going to elude ourselves that maybe we could achieve somewhat of a balance, one of the biggest tips I can give you is be home to homeschool. And that doesn't mean in your physical home. If you're a road schooler, if you are a working parent who takes your kids to work with you and they have a dedicated space, doesn't mean actually home, but it does mean dedicated space. So whatever that looks like for you and your family. I liked to take my girls out when I started to feel like my four walls were closing in. If we could go outside, I would take them outside. We schooled at the library before. We've schooled in coffee shops before. There are plenty of different spaces that you can school at if you just need a change of scene. One of the beautiful things about homeschool is that you really can do it anywhere. But do make sure there's dedicated time to homeschool. There are those who would say you have to be home to homeschool. I'm just saying you have to have the dedicated time to homeschool, because if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Now, striking a balance in this particular area as well, the reason that we homeschool is to have flexibility. And BookShark builds in that flexibility by giving you 4 days a week. That is 144 what we call book days. That is what the curriculum provides for you. It's not 5 days a week, it's only 4 days a week, 144 days over 36 weeks. So, using that calendar, figure out what your 36 weeks, how they're going to fall, when you're taking those vacation times, when you are scheduling school breaks. You remember you get some flex days built into each month, as well as that elective day. So, make sure that you're using the 44 days in your 144 days in your calendar to devote to schooling, however that looks for you. I have shared before that we actually would break up some of our subjects to go over the 6 days. That was for one of mine that needed some extra time to get through her read alouds. We actually scheduled over 6 days instead of 4 days because I did like to stay within that same week that her twin sister was working in so they could move on together. Looking back, we didn't have to stay in the same week. I was just a little bit more uptight in the beginning. I think all of us as parents who want to homeschool, we want to do it well. And so we start by following the rules because that's why they're there. And after a while, we see that it's becoming more of a dictator than a guide. And so we have to reevaluate that. So I feel like most of us start out with great intentions by following how it's prescribed and doing the things as it says to be done. But I want to give you permission. This is your homeschool. This is the beauty of homeschooling. You've decided on a curriculum, you're going to go with it, you're moving forward, but just know you need to be flexible. Flexible for yourself and flexible for your kids. I had a guest on the podcast maybe 2 years ago now, and she talked about a moment in their year where they had to really step up and be there for her aging parents. And they were able to do that because they homeschooled. Now that she had to change her schedule, they had to move things around, they had to be flexible, but she could be flexible because she was homeschooling. So I just want to encourage you with that. Stay flexible, have a plan, have an outline, but also know that you get to decide when you do what. You're not behind. You're not starting from a place of behind. You just get to be on this journey and just trust the process as you move through. So, while on one hand, I'm saying schedule your year out, use the calendar, know what 144 days you're going to do school. But at the same time, realistically, when you get into it, you'll see you do have to be flexible. And you may only do day 1, 2, and 3 in one week and then have to do day 4 at the beginning of the next week. And for some of you, that is going to be a huge challenge to wrap your mind around and to not feel anxious about. Ugh, I get it. I've been there. It's going to be okay. Call me up. Send me a message. Be like, Jana, talk me down. I'm here to do that for you. I know that feeling. I know the wanting to get it done in the right amount of time, the way I said I was going to do it. Pencil, 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 be flexible. So find dedicated space, whatever that looks like for you. Make sure you have dedicated time to do the work, to set yourself up so that you can feel good at the end of your year, knowing you did it your way. Now, another thing that can be really helpful in order to stay on this course that you have dedicated your time and space to is to inform others of your decision. Now, I have an iPhone. I can actually put a do not disturb, and it will not only not disturb me, but it will give a message to whoever is trying to get a hold of me like, hey, I'm doing this right now, or hey, I'm on do not disturb because I'm with my kids right now, or whatever your message want to say. You don't have to overshare by any means, but it is helpful. And I also like that I can decide who it goes to. So if it's just the people in my favorites list, or if it's just my immediate family, things like that. We have so many things in technology that can help us with this, okay? But what I don't want is for you to really start getting into your groove and getting into a rhythm, and then you get a phone call, or your texts start coming in, or notifications from your social media. And our human brain, our tendency, what we have trained ourselves to do is to immediately pick up, to immediately answer. We prefer instant gratification, and so we feel it necessary to give others instant gratification when they reach out to us. But guess what? That text message can wait. That phone call can wait. Now, if it's an emergency, you can work out how to figure that out. I know on my settings, if someone calls me twice in a row, then it will ring through. So just keep that in mind. I know there's this like paradox of what if it's an emergency? What if they need me? Using your 2010 rule, when you have a break, that's when I would encourage you to then go pick up your phone and check those things. It's kind of like Guys, I don't know how old you are, but I used to be able to text and drive, and it was not illegal. And I'm not saying that I've perfected not doing that anymore, gotten a lot better. My last state, I was able to pick up my phone at the stoplights. The state that I'm in now, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that. I probably should pay attention to those laws a little bit more. I work from home, so I don't leave my house a whole lot unless I'm traveling. But think of it that way. It's like you check those things when you are at the stop sign, the stoplight, when you're at your stopping point, when you're at your break. So many companies and leaders in the field of efficiency are starting to see we block out time to return emails or to return phone calls instead of letting them constantly distract us through the day. And that's for work days. So let's use that strategy in our own homes when we're homeschooling. If you know that you're going to sit down and do a read aloud for the next 30 minutes, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Make sure that you can dedicate that 30 minutes. It's going to be so much more efficient for you. Your kids are going to enjoy it more. You're going to enjoy it more because there's nothing more annoying than like you go to sit down and do something, a block of time that you decided, your kids are like, I have to use the bathroom. Oh, I'm hungry, or all these things that happen. In the reverse, when your kids are ready to school, when they are ready to sit down and do what you've prescribed, and then you're picking up your phone, that's a break for them. Like that's a break in their concentration as well. And I've been guilty of it. I've had jobs where I've had constant flow of text messages, which were appointments and things I needed to answer. And I would stop what I was doing and I would like be talking and I would all of a sudden stop talking and my kids would be like, hello, McFly, where are you? What just happened? And I'd be like, oh, okay, start again. I'm sorry. And I've gotten like this sadness now when I realize that I wasn't giving them my full attention. So off my soapbox, but that is definitely a tip that if you have the time and space to dedicate blocks for yourself as well as for your kids. So when you take your break, they take their break, you answer your messages or check your things or do your next load of laundry, switch it all out, but make sure that it's staying consistent for them and for you so that you can honor yourself in what you want to do by homeschooling your children and also your children, and your people will follow along. Your spouse, your friends, your partners, everyone will start to understand once you decide how it's going to go throughout the day. You get to set the tone, you get to decide how it's going to flow, and other people will understand. And they might not honor it at first, but then when you're like, oh, yeah, I saw that you text. Sorry, I'm not answering texts until lunchtime now because we're homeschooling. So different things like that. Play around with it. You're going to have to find what works for you, but I just know that that has worked for me. So place, just a tip, you can also put your phone in a different room. I know that's crazy, you guys. I can't even like sleep without my phone being next to me. And I use the excuse, oh, I use it for my alarm, which isn't necessarily true because I have an alarm right next to my bed. I even talk about it. It's a sunshine alarm. So it's not it. So we do have this, there's science studies that are being done. We have this dependency with our phones, but think about it. Think about doing different things. If you want to remove distractions for your children, right? You're not going to put all their favorite things in front of them as you're starting to do a math concept so that, they are distracted. You're going to clear the room. You're going to give them a space where they're focused on what's happening. I would suggest that you do the same if you want to have success in your year of homeschool. So let's talk about those of us who work from home and homeschool. I am starting my first school year where there is zero homeschool in our home. My 16-year-old is actually dual enrollment, so all of her classes will be online through. But for the last 9 years, I was a very big part of it. And I had to figure out how flexible I could be and when she needed me and when I needed to dedicate time and when I could dedicate time to work. Now, older kids who tend to sleep in, it was great. I could log in and start earlier because my job was also flexible. So I can give you my perspective from having a flexible schedule, having a flexible hours at my job. For those of you who are homeschooling and you don't have that type of flexibility in your job, obviously you're going to have to find out what works for you. Whether your kids get up early and you get some in, maybe 2 hours in before you actually have to start work, then they get to play. They, have things that they get to do. You get a lunch break. Maybe you check over some work and then give them their next task and then you log back into work. I can't tell you how it's going to work for your family because every family is different. I just know that if you're serious about doing this and you want your kids home with you, but you still have to work, there are ways to get it done. You can school in the morning, you can school in the evening, you can school on the weekends. You can give them their plan the night before so that when they do wake up and you're already in your meetings, they know what to pick up and start doing and so that they can move on, and give them incentives. When you get a break and you get to see that they did get up and start doing what they were supposed to do, like, good job, make a board, give them a check mark. When they get so many check marks, give them a reward. Do things that really incentivize their independence if it's age appropriate. If you're homeschooling with smaller children, let me just tell you, they're going to play. I mean, it's just a known fact. Those 5-year-olds, those 6-year-olds, they're just going to play. So if it's fine that they're just playing while you're working, great. And then again, the afternoon when you are done working, evening, early in the morning before you start, there's lots of ways that you can squeeze it in. On the weekends, when your spouse comes home, it's doable. Just have to be flexible. Flexibility, I guess that's the key to balance maybe in all of this. All right, socialization. Guys, I was homeschooled in the 90s, and you would have said, like, how did you ever socialize? I had a job. I got to go to a local prom with a friend of mine who was a coworker, did all the things that all the other kids did. I really don't feel like I missed out on any single thing growing up. And now, with so many options for homeschoolers, co ops, and different groups, we lived in a state where they had homeschool groups that did these huge dances that my girls got to be a part of. So, in this day and age of growing homeschool, I really do feel like there is ample opportunity to find places to plug in. Now, you may be saying, I live in an area where there's not many homeschoolers and there aren't ample places to plug in. Then guess what? You get to be the one that starts. You get to be the flame that flickers and then grows as your children grow and you find more families to join in. I know that's a lot, especially as you're starting your new journey, but take it slow. Maybe put a post out. Find out if there's another family. Everybody uses the Nextdoor app, which I had to just get off because it was incredibly annoying to me. But maybe put a post on there. I just had somebody in our Facebook group for our neighborhood say, hey, we're new, we're homeschooling. Any other homeschool families? Does anybody want to get together on this date? Very simple, local things, library, things that you can do. You can start it if it's not ready for you. And if that is not your thing, if you are like, I don't want to do that. There are plenty of things at your library, in your community, that are not necessarily homeschool specific. Maybe they're after school hours, maybe they're on the weekends, but you definitely can plug your kids in places, rec centers, where they can be around other kids their age, socialize, have fun. There's clubs, there's so many things, there's online communities. If you are more homebodies and your kids are homebodies, there are amazing things that we now have access that are now accessible to us as homeschoolers. So I could go on and on. If you want specifics, you want to, I can definitely talk to you individually and give you some more ideas. But I think this is a great jumping off point for you, that if you don't see it readily available, then maybe you take the leap of faith and start it yourself. All right. So you have 36 elective days. So we have those 36 weeks, 4 days a week. That fifth day we consider an elective day. That is when you get to do the theaters, the musicals. Do you guys remember going to like the high school as elementary students and watching the high schoolers plays, like when they did their dress rehearsals or things like that? When I was in a traditional school setting, that is something we definitely did. And I know as a homeschool family, we were also able to go do those things. And we saw professional ballet and theater as they were doing like their dress rehearsals during the day. So those opportunities are still out there for you. You just might have to dig a little deeper, be a little bit more intentional. But there are lots of things. There's museums, there's zoos that do homeschool activities and homeschool days. So, guys, you're not going to have a problem filling your days, these elective days, with field trips and different things to enrich your children's learning. All right. You can always go to an art museum. All the museums, they're open like almost 365 days a year. So find the days that if you want to go on a free day, or if you want to find out, our library had free passes to certain museums. So it didn't even cost me anything. So lots of different ideas. If you can have it line up maybe with something that you're learning about, that it follows along in your curriculum, but that does not matter. It does not have to align with what you're doing. It just has to be fun for you and your kids to get out there and experience the things around you. One year we went downtown Denver, and it was actually an app, and we were able to do a tour, and it was actually a game. We were like collecting points. Had these trivia questions. We were finding these different buildings, and there was a game involved in it, and it was so much fun. And we got to do a walking tour of the city. And I know Denver's not the only one. And let's just say you don't live in metropolitan area, totally fine. There's still geocaching, which I guess people don't really talk about a whole lot, but that's a really fun thing to do that you just get coordinates and you go out and you find it, and your phone should be able to do it now. Before, you used to have a special, I don't even know what the device was called, but to put in the coordinates, you can do it on your phone now. So many things, you guys. So many things that you can do and have fun. Bird watching. I mean, I know as ridiculous as that sounds, but that's actually like a thing. So, nature walks, lots of things. Those are what I encourage you to do and set up for your elective days, okay? And go to the movies during the day if you want. Like, it's so much fun as homeschoolers to be able to do the things when everyone else is not doing the things. So keep that in mind. And that's, I mean, I guess really, I'm kind of talking about outings, but those are more educational outings in a sense. It's more cultural, it's learning things. But at the same time, with your outings, do not overcommit. Make sure that back to the beginning, you're home or in your homeschool space in order to homeschool. Plan wisely. Don't try to plan a whole day of being out and then, oh, by the way, let's try to get some math done. I do not advise it. Remember that if you are part of a charter or co-op, that fifth day or whatever day you're using for that does come first. A lot of times the reason they let you have your curriculum is because you're committing to going to that one day a week. So keep that in mind. Definitely use your calendar. It'll be so much more helpful as you get into it and you start to plan. And some of those things, are only available on certain days. So using it and penciling and planning it out is super helpful. And then for me, I will constantly talk about reverse engineering. Start with the end in mind. If there's a day that you want to be finished by the summertime with your homeschool, work backwards so that you know when to start, when to get your days in, how many breaks you can take. Do prioritize the learning. And I don't mean that you have to read every book that we give you and do every question and cross every T and dot every I, but I do want to encourage you that the learning is there and it can be done in so many different ways. Just have fun, but don't forget you are actually learning, and all those things that you're doing are expanding your child's creativity and critical thinking. So do the book work, yes, but also have fun with your learning. Balance your time. Here's your 3 R's. All right. What are you going to do to re energize? Remember, we talked about self care. You're going to take a bath. You're going to go for a walk. You're just going to go lay out in the backyard and look at the stars after your kids go to bed. Do the things that re energize you so that you can fill your cup so that you can then fill and pour into your children. Remember to rest. There are days when it's raining and you do just need to use one of those flex days and put on a movie, educational or not, pop some popcorn, and just enjoy being with your kids in those moments. That's okay too. And then just remember why you chose to do this. What is your goal in homeschool? Is it to get the 144 book days done? Okay, great. Then keep that in mind. Is it to connect with your children? Then do the things that furthers that goal. Is it to see your children reconnect? Maybe they've been out of the home and doing their own thing, going to school in different places in different buildings, and you've been running all around, and now you want to take some time and pull back and have them reconnect. Make sure that you create space for that to happen. Just remember why you're choosing to do this. Now, next week, probably one of my favorite sessions because it's the bonus session, and I get to give you guys just like real life tips and things that'll be helpful. And not to say that I'm not doing that in these other sessions, but this will be pretty much completely separate from BookShark. It is really just about literally being a homeschool parent who was homeschooled, who has been there, walked in your shoes, not your specific story, but definitely can empathize with the different struggles that you have. So I really like the bonus session. Your homework. Think of 3 things that you will implement in striking a balance in your homeschool journey. I'm going to get the Q&A posted. I'll get the homework posted. I am flying to California this weekend, so I'm going coast to coast. I'll be back on Monday to answer all your questions, and then we will have our final bonus session on Wednesday. I'm so happy that you guys are here. Thank you for being a part of BookShark, and I will see you guys on Monday.